Good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin. Across from me, Joe Danier. Today is Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Thank God February is almost over. Joe, what's your least favorite month of the year?
Least favorite month?
Yeah. There's 12 of them. Do you need me to tell you what they are?
I'm thinking like December. It's unpopular, but December.
December?
Yeah.
Really?
It's in.
Are you anxious around the holidays?
Professionally, personally, it's the most chaotic month of my life.
Okay, I can understand that. Okay.
Second would be April when taxes are due. That's the second one.
Okay. But you can get an extension, right?
I've got an extension every year for the last 15 years. So
I think you can get an extension, put it off for 6 months, right? Till October.
Indefinitely. Like I'll put it off for 75 years.
just like the Deshaun
Watson.
A
loophole.
Just like the Deshaun Watson contract. Just keep pushing it down.
Pushing it down.
For me, it's February and it's not even close. So I think it's like
really
in February. I know, like, you got Valentine's Day, to me, overrated. You got the Super Bowl, which is cool, but they're not. That's about it. It's just like, to me, it's just like February is the last. It's like, I'm someone that's big on weather and to me, it's like once you get to March, at least you know the lights at the end of the tunnel. With like winter, you might get some snow here and there, but at least for the most part, winter is almost over. And like February is just like you're in the heart of it, and this has been maybe the worst winter in this area I can remember, at least in the last 10 years. It's been bad, so I'm just happy.
Can we do? All right, so this is off topic. Like this has anything to do with what you were talking about. I am certain of it. So can we change the months? Can we just? We're going to change daylight savings time, and now would be a good time to get things to make sense for a person like me. Okay. Yeah. So like October, right?
Yeah.
What month should that be?
8. So that should be August.
All right. So October should be.
I think it was based on like the Romans, though, wasn't it? Like Octavius or something. Yes. Okay.
And November, December, all of September, all of these are jacked up.
Yeah.
And I think we should write the calendar. And here's what we do: we equally divide it, so every month has 30 days.
Okay.
And then we create another month to hit. I think it's 31 days. What's
no, it would be 30, but like that would be 360. So you'd be 5
what's
short.
Equally as divisible? Would it be if we had 28 days, we could have 13 months? 28 times 13,
that might do it.
20. There it is.
Okay.
We need 13 months, exactly the same amount of days.
Okay.
And let's rename all the months. We can start over. We don't have to.
I think people in like the 1500s tried this.
Let's do it.
And that didn't work. So
it just didn't work because they did it wrong. Okay. I think if we did it, so either make it line up so that the names match the numbers, or just reinvent it all together, equally divide it, and make it make sense to me.
Okay.
That was my venture.
Okay.
Today.
No, that's good. That's good. Either way, February.
February.
That's kind of what we were getting down to. Maybe if we get rid of February, like the weather just changes immediately, right? There's the seasons, it just skips.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Here's what we're really going to talk about on the show today, outside of how bad February is. We will talk about the Cavs here in a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cleveland Guardians and a little bit about one big issue I have with Major League Baseball. Not really an issue, but kind of a pet peeve that I want to pick Joe's brain on. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns today because why not? It's February and it's but the combine is going on right now. So the NFL combine, the Browns are back in the first round with a very, very high draft pick. They picked number 2 overall this year. So it's the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns 1-2, and the New York Giants are 3. So we're going to get into all of that. The Buckeyes have a possible record amount of players that could be drafted this coming year. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then if we have time, we're going to get to the White Lotus, and I want to pick Joe's brain on that. I don't know if you've seen the show or not, but even without seeing the show, we can still talk about some dynamics in that show. And I'm curious what you think about that. Before we get into sports per se, we did have since in the last couple hours, Gene Hackman, the famous actor, has passed away at 95 years old, and I didn't have much time to read up on it. I mean, this just happened within the last 2 or 3 hours, but it sounds like a carbon monoxide type thing because it was him and his wife and their dog were all found dead. Now he is 95 years old, but this seems to me like a carbon monoxide thing, and unfortunate. Passing of Gene Hackman, but he was a legendary actor. And I really quick scoured his IMDb and I forgot how many awesome movies this guy was in. Do you have Gene Hackman, do you have a certain role that you remember maybe him playing?
Well, let me eyeball what he was in and then that'll give me a good.
Can you see? I actually have a bunch up on that screen right there. I can't transition over, but I'll give you some of mine. So some of the movies, while Joe's looking, some of the movies he's been in, obviously Superman. He was in a bunch of the Superman movies in the 70s and 80s. Hoosiers, which is, I think, what he's most known for. When you're talking sports movies, The Replacements as well, where he was the head coach.
What did he play in Wyatt Earp? I remember him in that.
He was in it. I can't remember the character name, but and some of the, I just went through his IMDb, what he was most known for. And again, he played some great characters that were just absolutely legendary over the time. The French Connection, and some of these movies are way before our time, but they're still standout movies today. French Connection, Unforgiven, Royal Tenenbaums, Enemy of the State was with Will Smith. Crimson Tide was a really early 90s popular one. The Quick and the Dead, which is another Western. The Firm with Tom Cruise. Get Shorty. I hate John Travolta, but they showed the screen in that one. Behind Enemy Lines.
John Travolta?
I just can't stand him.
Why?
I'm just not a fan. It's not there's something, just certain people, it's about their face. I just don't like his face.
You want to punch his face?
I don't want to punch him. No, it's not ill will, where I hate him. There's something about me that bothers him. That bothers me about him.
We need to dig into it. We need to find out what about him.
Well, right now we're talking about Gene Hackman, so let's give Gene Hackman his due.
But you can't just say that you do not like someone and not out it. What about him? I need to know.
It's just I think he's a little. I think it stems from the Grease movies, and I just thought he was a little bit of a cheeseball. Okay. And
is it because he can dance?
He's very talented. He's very talented. He is dancing, especially with Saturday Night Fever and Grease and all that. Dude can move, and he's even in a Capital One credit card commercial wearing a Santa suit. He's going around dancing. He still can move, but I just not a fan.
Just a cheese ball.
Yeah, just a cheese ball.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So. Your thoughts on John Travolta?
I'm a fan of Grease. And so I don't like him, but I don't hate him. He's one of those people that are just okay, well, yeah, cool.
Okay. That's fair. You
know what does really infuriate me? So I, as a rebel,
where do we start?
As a rebel kid, I listened to gangster rap, right?
Oh.
Ice Cube and Eazy-E and
NWA
and all of that.
Yeah.
And to see Ice-T in a car insurance commercial blows my effing mind.
Yeah.
Because I can see him saying the lyrics to songs that I knew.
F the Police.
Yes. Yeah. Next to you gotta buy audio insurance.
Yeah, right.
It blows my mind how that works.
I mean, everybody gets older and everybody ages out of what they used to do, and now they're known maybe.
But do you notice how some people can take that brand that they created when they were young and totally escape it? They're not pigeonholed in what.
Yeah, some people can, but some people are typecast their entire lives.
Yeah, like John Travolta. Yeah. If he's a little cheeseball back in Grease, you hate him for
me.
Life.
He's a cheeseball
for life.
For a lot of people love him though, and he's played a lot of different roles. So I don't know. But speaking of actual really good actors. I'm telling you, Gene Hackman though, everybody's seen the movie Hoosiers at some point, and like, to me, that is one of the most defining sports movies. I would put it up there, probably in my top 7, 8 sports movies. Maybe one of the best basketball movies up there as well. But like, any strong opinions on any of his roles or anything like that? He obviously Lex Luthor in the Superman movies.
Well, I think he was built to be the villain. Like, I really think he has that presence.
He has that look to him. Yeah.
Enemy of the state, Superman.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's his freaking role right there.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. He lived a good life, and unfortunate circumstances, it looks like, for his passing. But I wanted to spend at least a couple minutes on that. Because
there's another thing for February. Like, between Christmas and February, more deaths happen with people than any other time.
Because there's not enough sunlight.
That's it.
Not enough sun. Oh, Royal Tenenbaums. Royal Tenenbaums, really good movie. That was early 2000s. That is a very, very good movie. So from one Hoosier to another, just this week, it was a few days ago, but I thought it was memorable to bring up. But Bobby Knight, remember the chair throwing incident? That happened 40 years ago this week. So that tells you how many years ago that was. 40 years ago. So 1985. Yeah, we're getting up there. I mean, I didn't remember it till after the fact. I would see replays of it, but he gets a technical foul. The one dude goes to the free throw line and he just jacks this red chair. But Joe Midlick, who's been a guest on the show before, said he said that they used to do this promo at the Bloomington, Indiana, one of the Sears or one of the local companies, and they said, if you buy a couch, we'll throw in the chair for free. So that was a promo they used to do in honor of Bobby Knight, and I thought that was kind of cool. So
connected to Youngstown, what is a prominent Youngstown personality that also got hit with a chair?
Oh,
and it is famous
with a chair.
With a chair.
Like, what do you mean hit? Like hit?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I might be totally.
Is this like a mob thing?
I don't think it was a mob thing.
Is it an athlete?
No, it's a politician.
Oh, Jim Trafficant?
Nope. And I have to look this up after.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think who then.
Bob Hagan.
Bob Hagan.
Yeah.
Okay. So your Google search is Bob Hagan hit by chair? I've never heard that one. Bob Hagan. Well, yeah, if you type in Bob Hagan chair, he's going to be on the board of something. Hit by chair. There it is. Eventually served. No. If you find that, let me know. But Bob Hagan, allegedly assaulting.
Oh, he punched him like it wasn't a chair.
All right.
So it has no relevance in this conversation.
That's what we like to call primetime podcasting. Searching for it live on air. But either way, Bob Hagan assaulted, looks like what? Oh, this was in February too, but like 2010. So we're talking 15 years ago.
Well, let's say it was a chair because that's much more.
He assaulted him with a chair.
With a chair.
It sounds
hit his nose with a chair, and that's totally connected.
The person that hit him at one point that day had a chair in his hand,
or was sitting in a chair. One of the other.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so all right, let's move on. We talked about Gene Hackman, who was the head coach, legendary in Hoosiers. Then we moved on to Bobby Knight. Now we're going to talk a little Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. So we're going to talk. Give me about 5 minutes to talk to you a little bit about what the Cavs are doing. They deserve all the flowers this year for what they have done. They are currently 48-10 on the season. 48-10. That matches their entire win total from all last season. They were 48-34. Still with 24 games to go. They have continued to improve each year. And then Kenny Atkinson has made a huge difference with this team. The Cavs currently are also on their third winning streak this season of 8 games or more. They were 15-0 to start the season. Back in December and January, they went on a 12-game win streak, and now they are currently on an 8-game winning streak. So this team continues to just stay hot the entire year. They've had a couple little mix-ups and slip-ups, I should say, as the year has gone. But 48 out of 58, not too bad. Now, I have not mentioned DeAndre Hunter's name since the Cavs have acquired him, but at the trade deadline, they bring in the big wing from Atlanta, and he is the perfect piece the Cavs need. Now, he started one of the 6 games he has played, but coming off the bench is the perfect thing for this guy. But the Cavs in the 6 games since the DeAndre Hunter trade, 6-0, number 1 in offensive efficiency, number 1 in defensive efficiency, number 1 in net rating, number 1 in rebounds per game at 51 per game, and number 1 in bench points per game at nearly over 48 points per game. So the Cavs are basically just beating teams by 23 points a game over the last week and a half, and they are just dominating their opponents. They were up by 42 on Orlando, over 40 points against the New York Knicks. These are high caliber NBA teams that they're beating up on as well. Another guy that deserves a lot of credit to this season that doesn't get mentioned a whole lot with those superstars in the core 4 is Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome is a guy that missed all of last season. I think he played like 2 games and had a foot injury and just missed the whole season. But this year has bounced back, should be the 6th man of the year. He's averaging 12 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. He was also formerly DeAndre Hunter's teammate with the Virginia Cavaliers back in college. So what an awesome run these Cavs are on. And they are, if you have not been watching, they are literally, to me, and this might be a biased perspective, but they are the most fun team to watch right now. College, pro basketball, whatever your thing is, even if you're not a huge basketball fan, the way they share the ball, the way they move it, the way they shoot the 3 and get really good looks, and they're still playing hard on the defensive end. This team is so much fun to watch. So currently on the season, number 1 in offensive rating, number 6 in defensive rating. They are in an all-time clip along with the Oklahoma City Thunder with net rating, and they are number 1 in 3-point percentage, and they are number 2 in overall field goal percentage on the season. So Cavs doing really, really good things, and they're the only team in the NBA too, by the way, to clinch a playoff spot. And we still have 24 games to go in the regular season. All right, let's switch to the NFL and the Cleveland Browns. We're going to talk a little bit of Ohio State Buckeyes in here because they have sent a bunch of players to the combine. But the Titans have the number 1 pick. The Browns have the number 2. And then I'll just give you the top 5 here. Giants at 3. Actually, I'll give you the top 6. Patriots at 4. Jacksonville at 5, and the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6. So the Browns have not had a first-round pick the last 3 years because of who. I think maybe we should just stop saying his name. I'll say it one time to get it out of the way, but Deshaun Watson has ruined a lot of what this team could have been. But I think going forward, there is some hope with the Cleveland Browns. Is it in the near future? Probably not, but it's not in the too far of distant future, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking this Browns team is probably 2 to 3 years away from being back to being a competitive, maybe go win the AFC North, maybe get a home playoff game, maybe challenge to get deep in the playoffs or potentially the Super Bowl. I think they're 3 years away from, frankly, right now, because this roster, in my opinion, needs a whole, not a couple little tweaks. They need a full tear down, build back up. So if you had to say right now, what do you think the Browns record is for 17 games next season?
I think they're a dumpster fire still. I don't think they're anywhere near. I'm kind of with you that if you don't rebuild, and what's sad about that is they were there. They were one decision away from being contenders.
Yeah.
One decision.
Right. Well, even with that decision, they were still an 11-6 football team that was winning a playoff game last season. Well, the season before last. And, a couple, just a couple things don't go right here and there. But you can tell just this team has some missing pieces because of that trade and the young players that were not infused into this roster. So now you got to live and die with that Deshaun Watson contract. And hopefully I stop saying his name.
Voldemort.
Yeah. Whatever name you want to call this piece of shit. He is ruined. And the Browns are guilty of this. And they took their swing and they swung and missed. I give them credit for taking the swing because you cannot win in the NFL without a quarterback. They thought Baker Mayfield was nice, but they didn't think he was the guy to get him over the hump. And I think they were correct in that assessment because I think Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. I think he's probably a top 15 quarterback, but he was never going to be that top 10 guy to get them to potentially the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But that's all said and done. There's nothing you can do about it now. So the next question is, what do the Browns do from here? And they have that number 2 pick. We know Myles Garrett wants traded. He wants out. So what do you do? What do you do?
My decision would be I'm in the front office.
Yeah.
And if you have a reasonable heart player like Myles Garrett and he wants out, that is all the communication you need. That if you can't get a Myles Garrett to buy into a team, like you need to scrap whatever you were doing before and you need to rebuild culture.
Yeah.
Because right now on the outside, you're a joke looking in. So if you're recruiting players, they're looking at you like, I'm going to collect a paycheck, but they're not serious in this organization.
Yeah.
And if you're internal, it's like Myles Garrett wants out. Like,
yeah,
me too.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I'm not going to take this serious.
Right. Well, and for him too, he's going to be 29 years old through the whole season. I think his birthday's in December. So he's going to be 29 for this whole next season. But when you're staring down the pipe at 30 years old in the NFL, he's had already an 8-year career. You are not long for much more of your career. You probably have, let's say he's got 5 more years left and probably 3 more elite seasons. You want to spend that chasing a championship. You don't want to spend that on a 3-14 team or a team that might be rebuilding. So he wanted a plan from the Browns. Apparently that plan was okay, but then he changed his mind and walked that back, and now he wants out. And I mean, from a Browns perspective, I think him wanting out actually helps in the sense of that, like, kind of helps quick start the rebuild process. Now, if the Browns do trade him, they will not trade him before before June 1st because of the tax implications on the cap and whatnot, because it actually costs the Browns more to trade him than to keep him on the roster. And you have to come up with what compensation, and we had talked about this earlier, what compensation is it worth it to give a top 2, top 3 defensive player in the NFL? Like, what is he worth? And to me, it's like it starts at 2 first-round draft picks. So if the Browns can sort of flip the table, trade Myles Garrett, and I know it's going to piss some fans off, but at the same time, you haven't been winning with him. I mean, you got to the playoffs twice, which is great, but you also haven't gone far in the playoffs. You haven't been super competitive. The one game against Houston, he was completely shut out, like no stats at all in that game. So he is a difference maker, yes, and I love him, and I wish he was on the Browns for his entire career. But if he wants out and the Browns are going to stink, let's trade him, get the most we can accumulate for him, and then let's hopefully the players we pick can, help get us past. And then we're 2 years away from the end of this number 4 on the Browns, DW4, whatever you want to call him, Voldemort, as you said.
Yes, thank you.
So then we can, I know like some money from him will be on the books, but the cap gets bigger every year. It's like a small percentage after 2 years from now. So once we can clear away Voldemort and then bring in, maybe trade away Myles Garrett, you're looking at the number 2 pick this year. For all intents and purposes, you have 2 first-round draft picks because you're leading off the second round with your draft pick as well. You have the first pick of the second round. So the Browns can quickly redo this thing, if they hit the draft picks. So my question to you is, if you're the Browns right now, I think there's 4 players you can target with that number 2 pick. Maybe they have some other intentions in mind, but if you're looking at quarterback, you're looking at Cam Ward from Miami, you're looking at Shedeur Sanders of Colorado, and then from maybe an elite player status, you're looking at Abdul Carter, the edge from Penn State, who looks and plays just like Micah Parsons, another Penn State guy, one of the best defenders in the league as well. And then you're looking at Travis Hunter, who is the wide receiver, cornerback, not sure quite what he's going to play yet, but he is elite at both, or he's very, very good at both, and the Heisman winner. So if I'm saying the Browns, let's just hypothetically say they stay at number 2, and you are the GM, are you taking one of the 2 quarterbacks, Sanders or Ward, or are you taking Travis Hunter, the possible wide receiver corner, or are you taking Abdul Carter, the edge rusher?
I'm conflicted on this because I think, if you know, like, do you think in that front office they know whether or not Myles Garrett is a yay for next year or a nay for next year? Do you think they have decided?
I think they're trying to mend the fences, but I think I don't want to say the bridge is totally burned, but I think, or whatever, the ship has sailed. I don't know what analogy I want to use, but I think the Browns are putting it out there that they're saying we're not going to trade him, but they are going to trade him because, I know this has happened before with Kareem Hunt wanted to trade and David Njoku wanted to trade and other players from other teams like Deebo Samuel for the 49ers, but Lamar Jackson wanted to trade from Baltimore a couple of years ago, and those guys ended up staying. But to me, this feels like it's just posturing from the Browns. It's like, well, if we say we're going to trade you, then we lose a little bit of leverage with some of these because they're like, well, we know you're not going to keep them. You said you're going to trade them. So if they say, no, we are standing pat. And I thought Andrew Berry said something very smart. Now, again, he's a very smart guy. He said, we wouldn't even trade him for 2 first-round picks. So he's putting it out there right now. The minimum value right now that he would accept 2 first-rounders and plus something else for Myles Garrett. So to me, I thought that was smart to get a little bit ahead of that. And he's kind of like telling other GMs what he thinks Myles Garrett's value is. And for a team like the Lions or the Vikings or the Commanders, the team that is right there ready to compete for a Super Bowl, but maybe needs that 1 or 2, one superstar player to get you over the hump. I mean, is it worth it for them to go all in to get him? Probably. If you got the best defender in the league for the next 3 years at a reasonable contract, I think it's worth it. So,
yeah, so I'm thinking like, let's just say second pick, they go with another edge rusher.
Yes.
You think in complement, like they're giving some help there, dominate defensively, having so much pressure on quarterbacks that whatever, maybe that's like the olive branch to Myles Garrett to say, look, you're going to get some help. This is not no Clowney here.
Right.
This is a real deal support.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it could also be like, this is your replacement, dude. Like you leave us, and this is the guy that's going to be filling in that hole when you're gone.
And I've thought that too with Abdul Carter. He is the prototypical new type of defensive end. He's not quite as big as Myles Garrett, but he is just as fast and quick. But it's like it's hard to say because you'd get this guy on a 5-year deal basically at a much smaller price that could, like you said, either be the complement to Myles Garrett on the other end and could really help him out. Maybe he doesn't get quite as many double teams, or hey, we're drafting your replacement at number 2, and then maybe we get some compensation for you if we.
I seriously don't think there's any downside in that, because if you end up losing Myles Garrett, you've got a replacement, and you can go after like a Matthew Stafford or some veteran to like.
Oh, we're gonna get to the veterans here in a minute.
All right, you can nurse the season along with you if you stack the defensive side of thing. So I'm almost certain that you got the defensive end.
Okay. So if you were Andrew Berry right now, you would take Abdul Carter, you think? I think he's the best player in the draft. I really do. I think he's the best player in the draft. So if you're taking the best player, you would want Abdul Carter, right? So that's a great way to look at it. Possibly Myles Garrett's cohort on the defensive line, or possibly his replacement,
100%.
as you said. However, here's my pushback. There are only so many opportunities when you get to pick in the top 1, 2, 3, 4 picks of the draft. And the Browns, I would think, at least hope, they don't plan on being in this position next year or the year after. And how many opportunities do you get to pick the quarterback at the top of that draft class that you might want? So the only pushback I would say for not taking Carter would be if they love one of these 2 quarterbacks. And I don't know if they love them or not. Shedeur Sanders seems to be the guy that fits the Browns system a little bit better. Kevin Stefanski's system. He's a little bit more of the accurate passer. He's not nearly as athletic as Cam Ward, but Cam Ward seems to be that kind of like that Deshaun Watson type quarterback, that he's like a little bit better, a lot better, more athletic, a bigger scrambler, bigger arm, just a better athlete in general. But the better athlete doesn't necessarily transfer to the NFL as a better quarterback. So,
you weren't in love, and the whole entire NFL recruiting class was not rating quarterbacks as this is not a great quarterback class anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me also skew towards that they're going to go someone other than quarterback on that second pick.
Okay.
If they were completely in love, there was a no-brainer. Quarterback would be.
If I had to pick, gun to my head right now, I think the Browns, if he's available, I think they would take either one of those 2 quarterbacks at number 2, which,
and NFL.com obviously agrees with you.
So yeah. So right now, NFL.com has Abdul Carter going number 1, Cam Ward going to the Browns at 2, even though that might not be as great of a fit. But at the same time, it's like, if they're a quarterback and they're the best player, you got to take them. So Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I think if the Browns want them, they got to take one of them, because.
And if Carter's gone at 1,
that makes it easy. That makes it
absolutely.
easy. But somebody could also trade ahead and try to jump the Browns to number 1. Somebody could offer the Browns a huge package for them to move back as well. So but
that's my official thing. I think if Abdul Carter's there, they take him.
Okay.
If he's gone with the Titans,
you take the best quarterback available. Okay. I am in the mindset of, I know he's not the most athletic guy, and I actually thought Cam Ward had a lot of Shedeur Sanders had a lot of red flags. But I am right now on February 27th, 2025, I am in the camp of, I think Shedeur Sanders makes the most sense for the Browns. But again, we will see. So I went through real quick and looked at every quarterback from every playoff team. And all out of the 14 teams, 12 of those guys were drafted in the first round. So Mahomes, first round, number 10 overall. Josh Allen, first round, number 7 overall. Lamar Jackson, last pick of the first round, but still a first round pick. CJ Stroud, round 1, number 2 overall. Justin Herbert, round 1, number 5 overall. Russell Wilson was not a first round pick. He was one of the 2 that were not. He went round 3, number 75 overall. Bo Nix last year, round 1, number 12 overall. So that's the AFC teams. The NFC, the Lions, obviously Jared Goff went number 1 overall. Then you had Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Eagles this year, round 2, pick number 53. So, you can win with a guy that's not a first round quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Buccaneers, round 1, first overall, obviously to the Browns. Matthew Stafford, round 1, number 1 overall, back to the Lions, but now he plays for the Rams. Sam Darnold, round 1 for the Vikings. He was picked by the Jets, but played for the Vikings. Round 1, number 3 overall. Last year, the Commanders took Jaden Daniels in round 1, pick number 2 overall. And then the Packers, the last team, Jordan Love, round 1, number 26 overall, which kind of pissed your boy Aaron Rodgers off. So, that is that.
But if you're not totally in love with the quarterbacks there, you can pick one up in the 2nd or 3rd round and have just as good of a chance of having someone work out.
So let me tell you something I had heard from an NFL GM on a podcast. He had said, or a former NFL GM, he had said, if there's really no such thing as a round 2 quarterback, now fans of Jalen Hurts would push back, but if teams love a guy so much, they will overextend themselves to pick that guy in the first round. You get an extra year, and it's like, if you think that's the guy, you got to take him. So round 2 is more of a flyer, and then guys have panned out. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick, but that is few and far between that happens, that a guy that is not a first rounder or an elite top level pick makes a huge impact in a team. Now, obviously, the hit rate is not as successful in the first round too, or it's the most successful, but the hit rate is not going to be 100%. It's more like 55% in the first round of if a guy hits. So if you're telling me there's a coin flip of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders being a really good NFL quarterback, I think that is a chance you have to take as the Cleveland Browns. Just my opinion.
All right. So from a cultural Cleveland Browns perspective, fans and the media and everybody are going to be hypercritical on whoever you pick on that first.
Sure.
Let's just say you pick Cam Ward.
Yep.
All eyes are on him. You have to then provide.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say you pick Abdul Carter.
Mm-hmm.
All eyes are going to be on you. Which have the best benefit of thinking that they can make the most impact on the game, and there's the least risk for
the quarterback? The quarterback always has the most impact on the game.
So if I'm playing the safe bet and I'm Di Podesta, right? I'm going with Carter every day of the week, because my pick, like, I can't have another swing and a miss in the Browns culture.
I think that's fear. And I think we are so ingrained to that as Browns fans, as like, we are afraid to miss. Well, guess what? We've swung and missed so many times, like literally. And here's the thing too, the contracts, the way they used to be, like when Tim Couch was drafted number 1 overall, or when, they took another guy, super high, those guys, that was a huge percentage of the cap. Whereas now these guys are on very team friendly deals for the first 4 years. And then they can get that bonus year if the team picks it up. And then you could even franchise them if you wanted to into a 6th year. But it is more team friendly now to draft a quarterback than ever before. And if you hit on one of those quarterbacks, the benefits that trickles down to the rest of the roster, because you can go out and pay a top level wide receiver, top level running back, top level defensive end. Whereas quarterbacks don't hit the market. Like really good when's the last great quarterback that hit the market? I can't even think of one, off the top of my head. The only reason Voldemort became available was because he had all the off the field issues. Like, he was still a really thought of high level quarterback. The only reason he became available was because, of all the legal stuff off the field. And that's, it wasn't just the Browns that wanted him too. It was at least 4 other teams in that mix that were like all trying to get him
But your front office, and you can choose between a quarterback that may be awesome and may wash out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do Abdul Carter that's an impact player that almost 100% is going to make something happen during that. What's your choice?
So to me, here's my thing. I think now, and I've been so frustrated as a Browns fan, as you have, as hundreds, if not thousands, have been over the course of the last 25 years as a Browns fan. And what's the thing we still have never had? A quarterback. We've had Myles Garrett. We've had Joe Thomas. We've had Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb. We've had great players at almost every position.
Njoku as the Adonis of all things.
I mean, Njoku's a top 7 NFL tight end. He's a really elite level tight end.
We have linebackers. We have defensive backs. Like, really?
I mean, literally, you have had great players, but what has it gotten you? Nothing. You have to have the quarterback, and then you have to have the team around him. The only team in recent history that I can think of is the Philadelphia Eagles that don't have Jalen Hurts is thought of as a good NFL quarterback. I don't think an elite level quarterback, but they have the defensive line. They have they have a great offensive line. They have skill players out receivers because he is a serviceable quarterback, but they built the team.
Well, that's what Flacco proved. 100%.
Yeah. Look at Joe Flacco. He made a lot of mistakes too in his time with the Browns, but that was a hell of a time. It was a lot of fun, and the Browns were winning because they had a really good defense, but they had a quarterback that could get the job done. He was by no means a great quarterback, but he put up a lot of really good numbers in Stefanski's system, playing within the system. So but imagine having just pick one of Joe Flacco's great games last year. Imagine that being the ceiling for your quarterback every single game. And I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward will be that guy, but you have to try, I think. So I am on the side now, whereas I love Abdul Carter, but to me, and you might regret not taking him, might end up being a multiple-time Pro Bowler or All-Pro, but you're still not going anywhere without that quarterback. So to me, it's a luxury pick.
All right, so let's just say you spend all your picks on all non-quarterback picks, and you bring Ayahuasca Aaron in, right? And he uses whatever his tools are to give you a run just like Flacco did, and that's at least buildable. Like, maybe next draft class is better than this one, and there's a quarterback in the first round.
Maybe.
That is serviceable.
And that's a way to look at it too, is like, if the Browns look at this quarterback class and think our guy is not in this class, then I think, yes, you do either take Abdul Carter or trade back and recoup as many assets.
Build that offensive line, build that defensive line. That's where your vulnerabilities are.
And Myles Garrett doesn't want to play, I'm sure, with the Browns with a rookie quarterback. You saw what Jaden Daniels did with Washington this year. They went from being one of the worst teams in the league to NFC Championship game in 1 year. But that's not always the case. But they took a chance. They saw something in him, and they hit it. Where I don't know if that guy's in this year's draft. But
no,
to me,
I don't think I am not in love.
So that's what I would say. If the Browns do not think Cam Ward or Sanders is the answer, then yes, you gotta either take the best player available or you trade back and accumulate more assets and hopefully 100%. Get that guy next year. But
I could buy into that, because
either way you're rebuilding.
That's the shortest curve. Like, you add a quarterback into this, and it's a 5-year rebuild.
Yeah.
If you say veteran,
I don't think it's 5 years. If you get the right quarterback, I think you could be in the playoffs in 2 years
if it pans out. If you get another dud quarterback, it's 5 years.
That you're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong.
So I wouldn't make any kind of risk play on the quarterback.
Okay.
This draft whatsoever.
So let's say hypothetically, because I think the Browns quarterback room is probably getting a full reset. I think Deshaun Watson will say he's rehabbing and stuff, but he is not playing for the Browns next year. 100%. So there are 3 possible rookies that could go in the first round this year, and we've talked about 2 of them: Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. from Miami, and then Jackson Dart of Ole Miss. Jackson Dart is more of that guy that like has come on lately that people like a lot, has a lot of upside, but like where's his floor, where's his ceiling, we don't know. So those are the three possible rookies. I don't think the Browns would take Jackson Dart in the top 2, but maybe if they trade back, grab him, mid to late first round, that's a possibility. But let me say, even if they do draft a quarterback, I don't know if that guy's starting or not for you. Let me throw out some names for you as possible veterans that could be on the Cleveland Browns.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to bring out the available quarterbacks in this draft.
Okay. In this year's draft.
Yep.
Okay. So while Joe's doing that, I'm going to throw out some veterans that I'm going to list them not in no particular order, but like veterans that I think are possibilities for the Cleveland Browns. Kirk Cousins would be number 1 because Kirk Cousins has one of those contracts where he is going to get cut by Atlanta, and whatever, if he signs for the league minimum, Atlanta is still paying him most of his contract. So I think Kirk Cousins, former Minnesota Viking who played for Stefanski. So I think Kirk Cousins, even though I know he's coming off Achilles, but he has had a nice NFL career. So is he a nice bridge quarterback? If you draft a rookie or if you do not draft a rookie, he's not the future, but he's a possibility. Do you bring Joe Flacco back? That's a possibility.
He'd be open to it. No bridges burned.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
You like Aaron Rodgers?
Everything on red for Aaron Rodgers.
You think Aaron Rodgers might be a Cleveland Brown
for this year?
Okay.
Like not going forward. But
yeah.
A year where we build the draft around defense and offensive line. Aaron Rodgers manages gets us to 10-7 season. Mm-hmm. I'm cool.
10-7. That'd be awesome if he can get to 10-7. So okay, that's a possibility. Matt Stafford. This is not realistic to me, but he has been rumored. But I think Matt Stafford will be playing for a different team next year, but I don't think it'll be the Browns. But I had to put him on the list because his name's been floated. Russell Wilson.
Not a chance.
No?
He's in that same group of somebody we already have on our staff.
I agree. Daniel Jones. No? I think Minnesota probably brings him back if they don't re-sign Sam Darnold, but we'll see on Daniel Jones. I feel like in the NFL, like I don't know the salary structure, but I feel like quarterbacks either make over 30 million or like less than 10 million. And he's a guy, if you could get him on the cheap,
maybe
he's got some upside. And I would rather go with Daniel Jones than Aaron Rodgers at this point of his career. There's a good chance
he's
sucks.
A lot like Flacco. I think there's more upside with Aaron Rodgers, but I think if your costs are too high, then it's not worth it.
Okay.
Where I think Flacco is a really safe bet because I think he's going to be both cheap and he's sure.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Malik Willis. He's a guy that went in the 3rd round to, ironically, Tennessee a few years back. Tennessee traded him to Green Bay this past year for a 7th rounder. Malik Willis looked pretty good with the Green Bay Packers when Jordan Love was out. So I put him on the list as a possible guy you could maybe trade for a mid to late round draft pick. Is a very mobile guy, but decent quarterback. He's more of a backup to me than a starter, but if you can get him for a cheap price, it might be worth a flyer. So any thoughts on him?
Meh.
No? Okay.
Just meh.
Yeah, he doesn't get you all warm and fuzzy inside. Justin Fields. Possibility. I know the Steelers do like him and would like to keep him around, but I don't know what his prospects are. So any thoughts on Justin Fields?
Strategically, no. Heart, yes.
Okay. I just think every year he has been in a bad situation in the NFL. The Bears, no offensive line. They finally started accumulating skill players, and then they get rid of them and draft Caleb Williams. Another guy This is a former Michigan quarterback. Then he transferred to Tennessee, was drafted by New England last year, but he's going to be New England's backup, and he's a rookie as well, or was a rookie last year. So second year, Joe Milton. He's a guy with a big arm. Might be worth taking a flyer on. I don't know. So
not my first choice, not my seventh choice.
And then finally, do you bring Jameis Winston back?
100% no. Like he had some. All right, so you had Joe Flacco, who was sort of like a 70 out of 100.
Yeah.
Winston was like a 40 out of 100. So if I'm given the choice of the two, I'm going Flacco every time.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. And I mean, Jameis Winston to me is a little bit younger version of Joe Flacco, but he's more mistake prone. But Jameis,
but there were similarities.
I mean, they made it exciting.
Heck yeah,
there's no doubt. So, I don't know. We will see as the world turns with the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of possibilities, but I think the Browns maybe whole quarterback room will be new next year. So, there's a lot of potential paths. Let's just hope they take the right one.
As Browns fans, we will watch the draft, and it will mean everything.
It'll be exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of sad the last couple of years not having a pick in the first round. It'll be kind of nice, and you're not gonna have to wait long for at least something, whether it's Abdul Carter, one of the quarterbacks, or possibly a trade down. So we'll see. And if the Browns do trade Myles Garrett before June 1st, which I don't think is likely to happen, they're going to have another first round pick this year, if not, and maybe more in the future. So,
and really the only philosophy is no more dumb shit. No more dumb shit.
You can't really make a fun acronym out of that.
You can't. Yeah. NMDS. No.
We'll work on that one to see if we can get one. That'd be a great T-shirt. No more dumb shit. Just in orange and brown. One NFL note that I thought we'd pass along with two NFL notes, but this one was dealing with one of those quarterbacks we talked about, Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. The tush push is in jeopardy of being an illegal play now in the NFL. So a lot of teams, I believe one particular team, they said it was anonymous, but people think it's the Green Bay Packers that put in to say this play should be banned because it's unstoppable. So the Philadelphia Eagles, if you think about it, they have 1st and 9 every single possession, because if they get to 3rd and 1, or a 4th and 1, it's an automatic first down because no one can stop the play. Jalen Hurts just takes the ball. The running backs, wide receivers push him from behind. The offensive line gets enough surge. It's a free yard every single play, if not 2-3 yards. So we'll see. I don't know. Should the tush push or brotherly love be banned?
From a league standpoint, if it's a safety issue, I can see them banning something. But from a advantage side, if somebody dominates in something, you got to let them do their thing.
So you're saying
everybody can do it.
That's a great point. There's no stopping any team from doing this. The Eagles just do it the best.
Yeah.
So and
if there were a bunch of people getting hurt because of it, I can see it, which it's not a safe play. Like if you're putting your quarterback at risk like that by pushing him over the defensive line, I can see that. But no injuries, no downside.
Okay.
It's a fair play.
Joe likes the tush push and brotherly shove. So
I just don't like the name. They gotta come up with the new name.
Do you have a good name for it?
No.
Come up with a good name for
no more tush push. That's really the only prerequisite is you come up with a better name.
I always thought Philadelphia. I always thought it was funny because I think Philadelphia does mean brotherly love, but to me that sounds a little incestual more than anything. So
brotherly love, tush push.
To each their own. To each their own. So,
I don't judge.
I mean, I've never been to Philly. I've driven through. I've never been there. So, I don't think that one's for us.
It is. We were talking about the actors and actresses that passed away.
Yes.
So Michelle
Trachtenberg. I forgot about
passed away.
Too. You know what movie I loved her from?
What?
Eurotrip.
Because she was a dime.
She's beautiful, but she was
100%.
cool. Like I can't think of what else she was in, but I know she was in lots of other things, but I forgot about.
So these happen in threes. So there's one more coming down the pike. Celebrities die in trio.
Well, Gene Hackman was 95. I think this girl was 30.
But that wasn't
39.
old age. That was something else. So there's a third one.
Okay. So do people still do those? Like, has that been canceled where people have like death lists where they bet on? It used to be like the old presidents, and obviously Jimmy Carter passed away.
I can Google the shit out of this.
Still a thing? I remember people like I have never been a part of one of those, but it's like people would throw money in and have like a poll, like you'd have a who's gonna pass away next, which is very morbid thing to root for.
Okay, so Rupert Murdoch is next.
He's next on the list.
Yep.
Of possible.
Jimmy Swaggart.
I don't know who Jimmy Swaggart
Alan
is.
Greenspan. Yoko Ono.
Oh.
James Dobson. Jim Baker.
Jim Baker, is he the televangelist guy?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Willie Mays.
Janice Page.
Okay.
Joyce Root.
I don't think anybody would be sad of Bill Cosby. He's at 87. Wow. All right. Let me random. Oh, Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. Well, talk about being Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein. That's who, if at least from a moral standpoint, if I was in a death poll, I'd be like, can I have here, like if everybody throws in $10 and you have like, I don't know, 20 names to pick from, winner just gets the pot. Would you probably want somebody that's like,
it never happens that way. It's always the person that's least
It's
expected.
like Betty White, who people love.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
The person you love the most dies, and the person that most deserves it lives forever.
Let me ask a question, just because Bill Cosby's name came up. When I was a kid, I used to really like the Cosby Show. I also listened to P. Diddy. I also, there's been, so like when a celebrity gets canceled, or like O.J. Simpson was awesome in The Naked Gun, and I'm sure people older than me loved him when he was a running back either with the Bills or at USC. When a celebrity goes through this stuff, and it's their own doing, is it? So let's just use P. Diddy, for example. Is it okay to still listen to their music?
Yeah.
Is it still cool to watch the Cosby Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that happened probably in a time when they were still doing that stuff, but you knew him as freaking Mr. Huxtable, the doctor, or like P. Diddy. Oh, he's kind of a cool rapper, at the time. It's like, no, they're kind of a piece of shit. So you think it's okay? Like, I'm talking right now. Like, if I go home right now and I like cue up the Cosby Show and I'm listening to P. Diddy on my drive home, that's probably not, that'd probably be frowned upon.
If somebody said whatever you did, sent a check to a person, like, I would disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So if Justin, like, sorry to pick on you.
That's fine. I brought up the topic.
Let's just say you opened a chicken sandwich store.
Okay.
And you were a total douchebag.
Okay.
Would I want to spend money buying your chicken sandwiches, or would I want to go right down the road to Raising Cane's and buy somebody that wasn't a total douchebag? I would rather that. Right.
Yeah.
So there are shows that are not the Cosby Show that don't have a serial rapist that I would rather spend my viewing time on. Now, I won't judge you if you totally love the Huxtables. Like,
I was just giving a hypothetical. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not go home and watch the Cosby Show. First of all, I don't have time for that. But second of all,
it wouldn't be the Cosby Show.
I did
100%.
So I did like it back in the day. So I'm trying to think of other examples. I'm sure there's Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey was an actor a lot of people really liked. Then that news came out, and it's like House of Cards dropped him. He wasn't even in the final season. The show kind of stunk after he was gone, but it's like you understood it because the guy's a piece of shit. And, it's like hard to watch something that maybe someone after the fact, like of what they truly are.
Well, it depends. Like, I mentioned Ice-T. Like, he's talking about like blowing cops away, and he's selling insurance.
He's changed his image, that's for sure.
Like,
but
How long do you pull that forward and say like you're guilty forever?
Yeah.
When there are people who didn't talk about and rap about blowing cops away, right? Buying the insurance of Geico, where it's this gecko.
Are you talking about Ice Cube or Ice T?
Ice T.
Okay.
Ice T.
Okay.
Like total insurance guy. Right?
Okay.
So do you go with the gecko who is, perfectly virtuous, or Ice T who blew a cop's head off? Like which one do you buy insurance from?
Probably going with the mythical lizard.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So how long do you hold on to the Cosby thing?
I don't hold on to it at all. I mean, I'm just saying I liked the show as a kid, and it's kind of weird to think about though that like it goes back to that phrase. Did you ever hear that phrase? Don't meet your heroes. Kind of like that. If 100%. Like there was, I'm sure, a ton of people that idolized Bill Cosby or idolized Kevin Spacey or idolized Deshaun Watson, and now it's like now you feel like dirty, even like thinking about like being a fan of them in the past, So it is what it is. But celebrity death list, that might be a future show. Maybe we'll do a draft.
Make a prediction on who you think is about to die next.
I mean, there's so many people in the world. I don't know. So it's got to be a celebrity.
Got to be a celebrity, someone who's notable, who is one of the. We got 2 out of 3, so there's somebody coming next.
Yeah,
somebody in
we're not taking anybody's death slightly. God, I love Gene Hackman and that girl. I forgot. Was Michelle Trachtenberg. Awesome actress.
Totally hot.
She's really good looking. Man, I'm gonna go with Harvey Weinstein because I think he's a big piece of shit. So let's go with him.
Mathematically, Bill Cosby's on the list because he's
it said he was 87, I think. Yeah. So yeah,
it's
got to be somebody older.
But because
you want to wager some money on
that? No, because it's not likely to happen.
Okay.
It's going to be somebody who's going to be like, oh, that's an unfair.
Well, it'll probably happen in the next decade. It's just a matter of when.
No, it's going to happen in the next 7 days.
But before we
meet next, there's going to be another.
So the law of 3.
Yeah.
What's the statute of that limitations for the law of 3 of celebrities or
entertainment, music, movies, TV shows, whatever.
So pop culture, but like
lovable.
So like we've had 2 in the past 2 days. So like I'm saying when is it like, oh, there was only 2? Because there's always going to be somebody next. But when is it like, oh, those things come in 3? Is it like
we'll set February 28th?
That's tomorrow.
Between now and tomorrow.
So you're literally predicting a celebrity's death will happen before tomorrow.
And it's going to be a tragedy. We're going to be like, oh, that's an unfair. It wasn't a Hackman or it wasn't a...
Like, I am by no means wanting anyone to pass away in the next 24 hours. But if something does, this clip is going to blow up. So...
Do you want to step outside and predict who that's going to be?
No, I just want to. I'm going to just.
Is it going to be like a Brittany Murphy? We're like, oh, how did that freaking?
I think it's more likely to be somebody that's like natural
or a Bill
causes.
Cosby, or like, oh, he was 98. Of course, he's going to die.
Right. I think it's more likely.
I think it's going to be tragic. Okay. I think it's going to be something we don't expect.
I think both of these last 2 have been tragic. 100%. So maybe the 3 things come in tragic.
Yep.
And now we're getting a little too morbid. Let's move on. So let's change the subject completely to really something kind of funny that kind of bothers me about baseball. We're not going to talk about the Cleveland Guardians, although I will say real quick, they have had the 4th best record in all the major leagues over the last 10 plus seasons, including the playoffs, 921 and 756. The only teams they trail, the Dodgers, the Astros, and the Yankees. And then Cleveland is right there. But here's what I was thinking on today's random thought. So here's one thing I wonder about sports, Joe, and I'm curious about this.
Yes.
To your opinion, why, and this is only in Major League Baseball, why do baseball managers wear their full uniforms?
Why?
Think about it. You don't see Andy Reid walking around in his Kansas City Chiefs full pads and jersey. You don't see Kenny Atkinson wearing the Cavs shorts and jersey. It just doesn't happen. But in baseball, the managers are rolling out there in their full pants and cleats and and jersey with their number and name on it. You got old guys, whether it's like Tommy Lasorda back in the day, or you don't see many doing it. A lot of them wear the pullover, the team's pullover, but there's still some managers out there in full team regalia, full team garb. Why is that, and why is that still a thing?
I think baseball really embraces traditional everything.
Yes.
And I think when they pay homage to the traditional, fans reciprocate with that.
Okay.
The minute they give that up and it's just a manager who's like just a regular guy, a sweatshirt on the sidelines, I think you ruin all that tradition.
I was going to ask too with that, because that's a great point, because I can see them wearing the pants, sort of. The pants are loose and stuff like that. And then maybe just wearing like a pullover with like a t-shirt underneath it. No one would ever know.
When you play baseball, did your coach wear the uniform?
Well, like in like summer leagues and stuff, no. But in high school, I believe at the varsity level, yes.
Yeah. They looked just like us. They wore head to toe, the pullover, the pants, the shirt, the whole thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I don't. It's funny to see someone that's either older or a little bit maybe out of shape do it. Now, if you go back to like Frank Robinson, who played for Cleveland, but he was also a player coach. That's different, because he's literally a player, but he was the manager as well. But it's not like Mike Tomlin's out there wearing his Pittsburgh Steeler full uniform. Could you imagine Kevin Stefanski out there wearing the full like Browns jersey and like the tight pants and stuff? That would look a little goofy. So
baseball's different. Like it is a different
beast.
We treat it different, and honestly, like you feel like your coaches are part of the team. They're engaged in it. The Tommy Lasorda's kicking dirt on an umpire. Like you wouldn't expect Kevin Stefanski to go out there and kick dirt on an umpire.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. Couple topics in the news, and we'll try to wrap this up fairly quickly here. But I saw this one, and I wanted to. This is our second Diddy reference of the day. So anyone that hasn't heard, Puff Daddy, Diddy, whatever you want to call him, Diddy's lawyer, who was once on Osama bin Laden's defense team, has said he under no circumstances can go on defending Diddy, and he has quit his legal team. So a guy that was on the defense team for Osama bin Laden and went through with that case decided, you know what? P. Diddy's where I draw the line. So what's your thoughts on this defense attorney dropping Diddy?
He is effed. If the Osama bin Laden guy won't support you, you're effed.
I mean, Diddy's gonna need to lube this situation up a little bit and find a nice guy that's gonna come in and smooth things over.
But there's a million attorneys that want the publicity that goes along with this. Like he'll have no trouble.
Okay, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is that where the Kardashian name became really popular? Because the Kardashian dad was like a defense lawyer for OJ, wasn't that? And then Kim obviously had her like sex tape and stuff, and they got popular from that too. But
nobody would agree with you that's where they came from. It was boobs that made it happen.
I'm sure.
100%.
So, one other piece of news. Oh, but let me ask you this too before we move on to that. If you were Sean Puff Daddy Diddy Combs attorney, like if you knew, like I feel like defense lawyers have to know a lot of times their client is guilty, and they have to just suck it up and do their best to defend them. I don't care how big of a piece of trash they are, they're just doing their job. But like, what would it take for you to drop a client if you were like one of the top defense attorneys?
I think about that a lot. Like the Unabomber comes to you and says, "Defend me, sir."
Yeah, right.
And you're like, all right, well, everybody deserves their time in court. And everybody deserves to be defended the proper way.
Yeah.
but dude, you're guilty as shit. Like, this is not something that's defensible.
Yeah. Now, does that, like, I don't know if attorneys keep like a winning percentage in their record, but it's like, come on, guys, this isn't even free. Like,
your ERA goes down.
Like, I have
time.
no chance to win this. Like, can I get a mulligan on this and just take my paycheck?
If you're a no-name attorney that nobody, absolutely nobody knows who you are, but you take that case, and do you get more value out of being known?
I was going to say too, maybe like the smaller the chance of win percentage, the higher the paycheck.
100%.
Versus like, it's 50-50, like you're kind of in the middle, or versus like, oh, this is like, I'm innocent as hell. Like, you don't need to do as much.
Did you know Johnny Cochran before O.J. Simpson?
No.
Not a chance.
No.
So
as like a 12-year-old kid, though, I didn't really follow.
So you might not win the case. Well, in that case, they did. It's a terrible example.
Yeah.
You might not win the case, but then you become a well-known name, and think about all the money you can make being a celebrity attorney.
That's fair. Like, maybe even if you lose, you still hit it big.
100%.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting way to look at it too. All right. One other story in the news that I thought was interesting this week: 2 homeless men. And I don't know if they've been caught since this story came out, but 2 homeless men are on the run with a $523,000 lottery ticket they purchased with a stolen credit card. The victim's lawyer is offering to drop the charges and split the winnings if they turn it in. I don't know what state this is in, because I know you cannot buy lottery tickets on credit cards in a lot of states. I believe Ohio you can now. I'm not sure what other states you can or cannot, but so they stole a credit card. They went and buy lottery tickets, which I guess in this case paid off. Don't go out and don't buy lottery tickets. It doesn't pay off. But in this case, it pays off. And I don't think they can go cash it now, right? So they're sitting on a very valuable asset, but that asset might take their ass to jail. Yeah. So what do you do if you're the guys with the ticket? And what do you do if you're the person that had their credit card stolen?
So what would the payoff have to be in order for you to trade off all of your integrity, your family life, your professional life, and be decimated in every other area? How much money would it have to be?
So
$500,000 is not enough.
Well, they would only get split that, and then they would probably split that. So 523, let's just call it 250. So 250, and then they would split that 250. So 125.
Not in a
that
million.
Is not worth your freedom.
Years.
That is not worth.
It's
your
$1
freedom.
billion. All right. Like,
yeah, you win the Mega Millions, something like that.
The effort.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great point. What is your freedom worth? What is your integrity worth?
So some of these, mafia people decided to go to jail, and knowing that on the other side of jail they were going to have X amount of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
How, if you had a 20-year stint, how much would that be worth to you to give up family and everything else?
I couldn't give up 20 years
There's a
of my
number.
life.
No, everybody has a number.
I don't think so.
Let me go.
I don't.
2 million.
No.
20 million.
No.
200 million.
No. 300
million?
No.
500 million?
No.
700 million?
No.
$1 billion?
Okay, maybe.
Everybody has a number.
Yeah. Like maybe because $1 billion, I know my family and friends are taken care of for 3, 4, 5 generations, but at the same time, I'm giving up 20 years of my life, which, if let's hypothetically say you live to 80, I'm giving up 25% of my life for, like, it's like, at what point, what is a day worth?
But that's to you. There's somebody out there that would trade it for Raising Cane's chicken sandwich, right?
20 years for a Raising Cane's.
100%. Perspective.
Well, yeah, I guess if you have nothing to lose, it's not worth as much. If you have everything to lose, or even hypothetically, let's just not even say you're married or have kids. You giving up 20 years of your life as a single guy, single girl, and like you got the best years ahead of you, but you're sacrificing that for a prison cell for 20 years. I don't know. I don't think that's worth. I don't think there's any price.
You walk out of the prison and somebody hands you a check for 700 million. And you're like, it was worth it. Everybody has that number.
That's fair. That's a good point. But I don't know if there is a number for me. Like, you said a billion.
No.
You said a billion.
No. We established it. You have a number.
I don't think
it's somewhere between chicken sandwich and 700 million.
I would also negotiate, maybe if that was my case, I would negotiate some of that billion down to be at a very low, what do they call those? Like resort type prisons where you can go out and like golf or like shoot hoops and like have good 100%. Food. So like the whatever, the paradise of prisons, which sounds like
so chicken sandwich and conjugal visits might be good for one person, and 700 million and resort type prison might be good for somebody like you, but everybody has their price.
Yeah. So let's just get back to the original point. 523,000 divided in half and then divided in half again. Not worth it. No,
100%.
Nope. Okay. So last thing I want to wrap up. You and I always talk about like a show or something we're like watching. I currently am watching The White Lotus on HBO. The White Lotus is not like the most like, it's not the most exciting show from like, effects or like drama or intensity, but it is still to me one of the best shows on TV because it does build that intrigue. You are so intensely involved with the characters and they take you. So the first season was in Hawaii. Last season was in somewhere in Italy, like a really nice place in Italy. And this season's in Thailand, but it's basically a 4 seasons resort. And you are there. And the dynamics of these characters all are sort of a snapshot of life of Americans and how they live, how they treat people, what they do. And this show, for so many reasons, is so intriguing. And if you have not watched it, I implore you go watch it. The first season was 6 episodes. Second season was 7 episodes. This season is 8 episodes. It's 2 episodes in, and it's starting to get real good already. But it is, I highly, highly, highly recommend The White Lotus. It's an hour an episode. It's a great watch. There are some top level celebrities in it, and everyone is a great actor and does a great job in this. But it builds intrigue, and each episode or each season has kind of a through line to the other season. The characters aren't necessarily connected, but there's like one carryover or 2 carryovers from season to season, which makes it really, really interesting. So if you have not watched The White Lotus, go watch it. It is, again, so good. You have it's like such a snapshot of especially how people with privilege treat other people and act in certain situations. It is so good, and it's such a good little snapshot on whether it's a group of friends from from they were little kids, but now they're like the 40-year-old cougars, or it's like a family from North Carolina that's like super rich, but like they've got a lot of shit going on in their lives that like someone that would have nothing would have to deal with too. And there's so many other secondary and complementary characters that are so awesome that I highly recommend this show. So have you seen it?
0 episodes. Right. You are batting 1.000 in every recommendation you've made.
And I will also say 2 other shows. I'm watching 3 shows right now. I'm watching The White Lotus. I'm watching Paradise, which is on Hulu. And the last episode 7 of season 1 is really good. And it's kind of like an apocalyptic show, but kind of shows you how they got there. There's a lot of flashbacks. And the other show, what else are we watching right now?
All my shows ended.
But yeah.
Silo.
Yeah.
Yellowstone.
Yeah, Silo I haven't got to. I got to get to that, but you know, it's a lot of good stuff out there, and there's a lot more good stuff coming. But thought I would just like put my plug in for the White Lotus, because if you have not seen it, it is absolutely excellent, and the acting is top notch. So I will leave it at that. So for Joe, I am Justin. Go out and watch the White Lotus. Let us know what you think the Browns are going to do at quarterback, all this other stuff. And we will be back next week with plenty more. And, you know, rest in peace again to the actress. And we'll see who comes third, and Gene Hackman as well. Rest in peace. But there's a lot of good content and a lot of good sports and a lot of other good stuff coming as the worst month of the year, February, comes to an end by tomorrow. So. All right, for Joe, I'm Justin. Everybody have a great weekend. We will talk soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.